Selling the problem. Sales professionals sell the problem, not solutions. Selling impacts every person on the planet. Your ability or inability to sell, persuade, negotiate, and convince others will affect every area of your life and will determine how well you survive. Grant Cardone. This video was created from numerous sources that have one thing in common. You either sell or are sold. You see, our prospects all have problems to one degree or another, and you need to discover that problem and determine if the prospect has the motivation to solve the problem. A comment I heard recently really resonated with me. We can help everyone, but we can't cure everyone. Sometimes it's just up to our prospects to take action if the desire to solve the problem is strong enough. We just need to help them by providing a solution to that problem. Ultimately, it's up to them. You just need to find out their why. And it isn't always easy. That's why prospects will always need us, and clients will always appreciate what it is we do. Your recommendations are never implemented until the prospect determines that the cost of the problem is more painful than the cost of the solution. When the prospect wants the solution because the pain or the loss and unwanted consequences of the problem, nothing else matters, not even the cost of the solution. Clients move in the direction of their wants, and once the client realizes you have a solution, they will want it. Think back to a sales attempt that failed because the prospect hadn't accepted that they had the problem. Identifying the problem is the first step. Getting the prospect to accept the problem is the key. Sales professionals know that most of their failed sales attempts happen because they didn't make a good problem presentation. Think about your last failed attempt. Did you fail to sell the pain, the loss, the unwanted consequences of the problem before engaging the prospect in a discussion about your solution? You need your prospect to verbally admit that there is a need and a desire to solve the problem. If you don't get that prospect to emotionally feel the pain of the problems, it may be personally affecting them or her. If you can't make them face the future of the unwanted consequences due to the inaction, and then verbally admit to having a need, you won't have a prospect, at least not one who's going to be actively and genuinely interested in listening to your presentation. You must engage the prospect in a two-way intensified pain discussion in your initial presentation. If you don't, most prospects will see no to your recommendations or to your request to move forward. Have you ever run out of gas in your car, or even let it get so low that you were starting to feel the stress of what might happen next? What happens next is obvious. You're going to have to walk and get gas, BCP, before cell phones, or call someone to deliver it to you. That's why you don't ever run out. The potential pain of not having enough gas in your car is more than the pain of stopping to get it filled up. Easy, right? But yet, every once in a while, you'll see someone at the side of the road putting gas in their car. Why? The same reason not everyone has life insurance. Someone didn't sell them on the result of running out, or the pain wasn't great enough to take action ahead of time. When you're in the financial services industry, your ability to get the prospect to agree that he or she needs your product is dependent first on getting the prospect to emotionally feel the pain and realize the unwanted consequences of the current situation. Therefore, you must fix your attention first on being a salesperson, selling the problem, with the second objective of being a solution professional. Most failed sales attempts are due to prematurely moving the prospect to the next step before they are emotionally prepared. The following are 6 steps that you should follow to increase your chances of success. State the problem. Many advisors often think that the problem is so obvious that the prospect automatically sees the problem as clearly as they do. Wrong. We have seen the problem before. Some of them are very common to us, but not to the prospect. Not getting the prospect's acknowledgement of the problem before proceeding to the next step is a fatal mistake. To establish the foundation of your conversation, make a clear 2 or 3 sentence statement explaining the problem you want to address. Once you make a clear problem statement, ask for a general agreement that this is the area of concern for the prospect. Fortune magazine featured an article titled, "The Future of Retirement." It's not what you think. The number of people that bought this issue caught Fortune magazine completely by surprise. But if you think about today's economic environment, and I believe you will agree that most people feel that being financially secure at retirement is a more difficult objective than in past years. Would you agree? Awfulize the problem. You need to sell the pain. Think about a recent sale that you attempted but didn't make. Did you make a bad product presentation, or was the sale lost because your problem presentation technique was not adequate? This step is often completely overlooked and almost always shortchanged. Yet no step is more important or more effective in leading your prospect to action. You need to take your time and get the prospect involved in the interactive discussion about the problem. If you don't, your chances of getting a sale will be dramatically reduced. The sale is made when the pain of the problem is sold, not the product. After presenting the problem, ask how your prospect feels about the problem and how it may affect them personally. If the prospect's answers are weak, you didn't do an adequate job of personally identifying the pain of the problem. Try again and initiate a two-way discussion. Don't move to another issue. Sell the problem now or be sold. If the prospect doesn't buy the cost of the problem, he or she is not ready to buy the cost of your solution. Example 2. Here is a type of dialogue you should have with the prospect. Mr. Prospect, I'm sure you've seen numerous articles in magazines like this one. The article attests to the difficulty and sometimes failure of people to achieve their financial dreams. As you can see, Fortune magazine published this mid-year financial edition with the cover titled, "The Future of Retirement, It's Not What You Think." Let me mention that this issue of Fortune was one of their fastest-selling magazines in history. Now, do you think Fortune magazine is read by highly educated people or less educated people? Do you think that it's read by more affluent or less affluent people? It's read by educated, affluent people. So why do you think highly educated, affluent people bought the edition faster than most other published issues? Because they know the answers to the retirement dilemma are getting more complex all the time, and people want answers. What are your thoughts? Some solutions to the retirement issue are work longer, save more, take more risk, or live on less in retirement. My point is that at some point you're hoping to want to retire, and you will only have 3 sources of income: government benefits, CPP, OAS, qualified money like RSPs, and your stuff. Your stuff has the greatest chance of yielding the largest amount of income. But let me ask you, who watches to see whether the efficiency of your stuff meets the current market standards? I work with my clients to make sure the efficiency of their own stuff meets the current industry market standard. And my ultimate goal is to make sure your retirement dreams come true. Invalidate other alternatives. Eliminate other alternative solutions by briefly mentioning how other solutions aren't as effective. For instance, if you're selling financial planning, it is prudent to mention how some people attempt to do-it-yourself approach and then fall short of their financial objectives when it may be too late to take corrective action. Here are some additional examples. Example 3. Kill the do-it-yourself argument. After your prospect has bought the problem, but they feel like they could handle it themselves, you can effectively eliminate that from consideration. Mr. Prospect, one of the biggest mistakes I encounter is people taking a do-it-yourself approach. I often find people who have a will, some insurance and some investments, and real estate investments, and maybe a college fund for their children. But they were all put together at separate times, under different circumstances, without coordination to maximize the effectiveness and efficiency of their money. That's why my work considers all the components and attempts to make them work together, instead of as separate units. We look at a comprehensive and coordinated approach. Step 4. Statement of hope. You need to assure the potential client that others who took your advice have been well satisfied with the results. It's that simple. It's no different from a sales clerk telling you how happy you're going to be with your purchase. This step isn't just important in retail sales, it's a very reassuring statement and it builds trust. Words of assurance are always welcome and comforting to the prospect. Example 4. Keeping my strategies up to date. I know that dealing with financial issues can be as exciting as root canal, but my clients tell me that without my work, many of their strategies would be out of date and less effective than they had planned. I believe your experience will be the same. It will be time well spent, and the results will improve the effectiveness of your overall approach to financial issues. Step 5. Summarize the pain and loss of unwanted consequences. This is a sort of summary statement before recommending your next step. I have talked about discovery agreements in the past, and this is similar to those but less detailed. It's a short summary statement before recommending your next step, whether it's a future meeting or permission to begin filling out an application. It is the process of getting agreement and confirming the next step towards a win-win outcome. Don't skip this step. It's critical to gain agreement. Make a summary statement that brings the pain, loss, and unwanted consequences back into focus. The greatest chance of getting a sale or an agreement to another meeting is to re-awfulize the pain of the problem. Example 5. Before recommending additional insurance or a second appointment, Mr. Prospect, I've spent a lot of time talking about solutions and next steps. But before we proceed any further, I want to focus us back on what we both concluded should be resolved. As you remember, if we don't resolve the insurance issue, the day may come when your family finds themselves in a horrendous situation. Let me give you an example by turning the tables for a minute. I want you to imagine a scenario in which your employer fires you and says you'll never work again. Would it be difficult for you and your family to survive financially? Even if your spouse worked, would your total loss of income affect your family's lifestyle? Would your children be able to attend college? Would vacations be eliminated? Would be eating out or taking an extended weekend trip to the mountains or beach be impossible due to financial hardship? Even if you could pay off the mortgage, would the loss of income require a tremendous amount of sacrifice on everyone's part to make things work? That will be your family's situation if we don't resolve this issue of having adequate insurance. The effect on your family may last their lifetime. With that in mind, here is what I'd like to do. Before suggesting a second appointment or closing interview, Mr. Prospect, we spent a lot of time talking about solutions and how I work with my clients. But before suggesting the next step, I want to focus us back on what I consider the real issues and why we should proceed. Though my work concentrates on helping clients find enhancements to their financial strategies, the real objective is to avoid the pain that could be caused when they don't take these recommended actions. You and I both know couples who reach retirement and think they're all in pretty good shape, only to find out later that their planning just didn't meet all of their other objectives. I think we both agree that money isn't everything, but when you retire, money has a lot to do with how interesting and satisfying our lives will be during our golden years. You know, retirement isn't a second chance sport. We get one shot at it. And my objective is to help my clients find the enhancements that make most of those years. With that in mind, I'd like to suggest Step 6. Request specific action with a benefit statement. Many advisors are very skilled at engaging the prospect in the first interview conversations or assembling and presenting a proposal, but they fail to ask closing questions that mandates a yes or no response on behalf of the prospect. The result is an opening interview that goes nowhere or a presentation close that never materializes. Don't meekly ask, "What do you think?" Don't make a statement such as, "This seems to work really well in meeting your goals," while letting the conversation then to drop off into silence. Don't keep talking about one extra item because you're afraid to ask for a closing question. Be brave, direct, and ask a yes or no question for your next action step. The prospect is not going to initiate a request to fill out an application or suggest that you check your schedule to see when you can come back and meet for a fact-finding appointment. It's your job to ask specific yes or no questions to a specific action and then be quiet and let the person answer. If you want to increase your sales, tell the prospect specifically what you want and wait for a response. Wait, 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 and wait some more. Let them answer. It will make you look professional and confident. To maximize your success, ask the prospect for a specific yes or no question to a well-defined action question after you've made a brief benefit statement. Now keep quiet and wait for the answer. Here's an example. Example 7. After the initial meeting, first or introductory meeting, request a fact-finding meeting by adding an effective benefit statement. I'd like to get together again with you. A second meeting would allow me adequate time to gather some additional information, which would guide me in making the best possible recommendations for you. It would also allow you to offer your opinion and guide the discussion on how to help maximize your objectives. I believe that our joint work will result in increasing the financial results for your retirement years, as well as provide added security for your family. Would next Tuesday at 3 be a good time for us to get together? Example 8. It appears to me that this solution does a great job of meeting your objectives, of reducing your taxes and maximizing your retirement income for you and your spouse. All I need to do is to get some paperwork started and your first deposit check. I hope that you've enjoyed this video and that you've learned the 6 steps of problem communication. You're not done. I provided examples of each step, but you need to practice, and each of your prospects' problems are going to be different. But with the basis of what I've provided, you'll be able to get started. Try a few, and if you need any help, please contact me so that we can work through a few of your own situations. It's only with practice that you'll get better. Over the past 12 years, I've been on many appointments with advisors and their prospects. Once the problem has been sold, the prospects became clients and allocated more money than we ever thought possible to solving the problem. You see, clients really do move in the direction of their wants, and if they have the resources, they will allocate more money than you can imagine towards creating the desired outcome. Today's prospects have more access to information than ever before. They are more skeptical and wiser to the approaches of financial advisors than in past years. That doesn't mean that they won't grant an appointment, but you should be thoughtfully strategic in getting consistently better results. Learn to communicate problems, not solutions. The difference can be profound. What do you sell? Problems. Sell the problem.